we're in a fortunate position in Australia where we've got some of the best designers in the world here. It's a really exciting design space because we've got such a diverse range of culture, so there's so many different tastes. So I guess I'm inspired because I'm working with some amazing people literally day to day, and you feel really involved when you're working across those projects, and they literally will bring you in and be like, hey, I've got this, how are we going to do it? And then when you see that end result and everybody's happy and it looks amazing and it gets photographed and potentially it could win an award, or it's in a magazine, or it's on the local project, that's when you just sit back and be like, oh, it's really rewarding, and you feel proud and happy that you're a part of that process, so that's kind of that's what drives me.
Welcome to Behind the Design, a podcast where we unfold the details behind the designs we know and love and explore how each project comes to life. I am Camilla Ingle, owner of Unfolded, an interior design and styling studio. In this podcast series, we dive into the details with our industry experts, covering topics such as the creative process, latest design trends, and how we, as an industry, work together to meet the brief and overcome challenges. Let the conversation begin. Adrian, welcome to Behind the Design.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So good to have you on.
Yeah.
And so you are one of my suppliers,
Which
is super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. So Surface Gallery.
Yeah.
Co-founder.
Yeah, co-founder of Surface Gallery, and Aldini
Yes.
has started a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty exciting.
So do you want to unwrap for the audience, our listeners, I should say, a little bit about both?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Surface Gallery was sort of started as an architectural wing of supply in terms of tiles, stone, ceramics, mosaics for architects and designers. And Aldini has been sort of like an offshoot of that, which is more my love child of, design made to order product. So yeah, that's been, obviously a lot smaller in terms of scale, but it's still a growing baby, which is exciting. Yeah.
And so Aldini, is there a meaning behind
Anything behind the name? Look, it just means strong, but I just like the ring to it. I wanted something that's just really like quite clear and crisp. And it just sort of, the A is obviously a good thing too. Yeah. So, there's not that much more behind the name apart from just wanting it to sound kind of fancy.
And so when we first caught up, I really liked hearing the story. I think it's one of those stories that I personally feel that a lot of people can relate to and resonate with around, you started quite young, like you were in the industry from 17. Very young. And, I didn't finish school for 18. So did you leave school early?
Pretty much, no, I was a little bit young for my year. So pretty much straight out of the gate, I didn't have any break after the HSC. I just got straight into working, and I sort of took a job with my cousin, and he had a stone business as well at the time. And I didn't really know at that stage what I wanted to do. And I'd sort of started studying for business. And I was planning to be an interior designer, so I was going to then follow on and do interior design, which I did, and all while I was kind of working within the stone business. And yeah, just kind of, started doing all the real basic stuff from cleaning and,
Classic,
the real boring.
that age group.
Yeah, cleaning
Role.
and sample cleaning and, just doing whatever I could get my hands on. And then it kind of eventuated into more sort of on the field, doing cleaning and sealing of natural stone. And it really helped my understanding of the product. And then progressively sort of more or less wanted to move into a more sales role, but there wasn't a huge opportunity because they were kind of tapped out in terms of, staff at that point. So I stayed there for about 6 years and then kind of made the move over. Scott, my now business partner, had just literally opened the doors to Surface Gallery and was looking for, obviously to form a team to start focusing really heavily on architectural and design specification. So I went and had an interview, and Lizzie, our brand manager, who's still with us now, interviewed me, and I was, 23 at the time. So I had no idea really what I was getting myself into, but I was just really hungry and excited. So
Ambitious.
yeah. So, so got on board, and then, it's been a crazy ride. I just went out and approached every single person that I could. And, at that time when the business started, we were in the middle of the GFC. So it was a really tough time just to, even if you're an established business, to get work through the door. So it was super, super hard. We were going out to see people and they did never heard of us. Obviously didn't know what we did. We didn't really have any stock at the time. We were kind of just buying from local wholesalers and trying to on-sell it, and
Trying to sell a concept without
literally
having a
just selling the
platform.
dream,
Yeah.
So yeah, so just sort of kept doing that. And then it got to a point where, like, I was pretty much, I'd spend a day in a certain area and I'd just drop into job sites and just try and catch up with builders and try and build some rapport. And,
It's that in-person
yeah, 100%.
communication, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, any business, it's all about relationships. And without any of that, you're never going to have something quite as strong. So
And you remember someone, when they actually
yeah, exactly.
come and say hello physically.
Exactly.
It's way more memorable than a Zoom or
That's right. That's right. So yeah, just kept doing that. And then, it took a little while before we started to get some traction. And then, we started looking for more people, and the team started to grow, obviously. And yeah, it's been an interesting ride for sure. Now we're sort of across 3 states, just about to open in Brisbane, and yeah, almost at 40 staff, which is, yeah, it's a big animal, but it's been really, really, really nice in terms of the growth and how progressive it's been.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned even just things that obviously makes me super inspired and excited is a collaboration, which is with S Lighting up in Brizzy.
Well, the guys from S have always been really close with us. We share a lot of, very similar clients, and we've got the same interests, and they've got a really beautiful brand, and they just kind of align really well with what we do.
Similar vision.
Yeah, we do, and we both talked about going to Brisbane, and we both obviously didn't have a space at the time. We were like, guys, let's just do it together. Like, apart from having a great time, it means our fit out's going to be amazing because we're going to have, the best tiles, the best stone, the best lighting.
Yeah.
and
See the
then-
benefits of joining forces.
Exactly. And obviously it, mitigates the risk as well a little bit because everything's in half, so there's a lot of really, really good aspects to that. I guess the core of it is, like I said, it aligns with our values and, our aesthetic, and we just have a great time.
Yeah.
Apart from anything else.
And that's up in Newstead, you said?
It's up in Newstead, yeah. So very close to the Carlisle, which is where you want to be in Brisbane. And we've also managed to get the guys from Novus on board as well, which is pretty exciting. So the concept behind Brisbane, was more to get like a sort of like a specification center, so architects and designers can come in and pretty much do everything they've got to do in the one space, which is really good. So yeah, we're super excited for that. So
that'll be New South Wales, Victoria and Brizzy.
Yeah.
Or Queensland,
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned with Aldini, that's alongside.
Yeah, so Aldini is more like, I guess, Surface Gallery acts as a like a showroom partner for Aldini. It's a made to order brand. So basically, I just kept finding, because I work so closely with the designers and architects all the time, that there was a gap in terms of wanting to find product or get product made and not having suitable makers at a reasonable price point, or they couldn't find makers that they wanted to do things that are a bit more out of the ordinary. They couldn't find someone to do it. Yeah. So I guess that, Aldini is it's a sourcing agency to make it simple. But the idea is you can collaborate with, a metal maker, a steel maker, a glass maker, a stone maker, an acrylic maker, so that you can make these products that potentially you've never seen before or no one's ever done before. So,
And where does the concept for that stem from? Is it like, would a client come to you and say, hey, this is sort of what I had in mind?
pretty much.
What are your thoughts? And then you would kind of pull
Yeah.
it together?
So
or?
a lot of the time, like, I just say to my designers, like, whatever you're thinking, just give me a really basic sketch. It can be just hand drawn with some measurements and what material you want to make it out of, and let me sort out the rest. So that's pretty much what happens. So they give you an idea, they spitball it, draw it, and then I'll send it to my factories, and we'll potentially, if it's something that once we've priced it, if the client's keen to go ahead, then we'll do a shop drawing and just push on.
And so so from your perspective, it's making sure that you can physically build what they're after.
That's right.
With maybe, like, if they say glass or something, what if
Yeah.
you're like, oh, what you're after won't work in this, but we can, however, use
Yeah,
ceramic?
exactly.
Okay,
So it's just
interesting.
like, it's kind of, for me, we just want to push that edge a little bit in terms of making stuff that
Like push the boundary.
yeah, that's it, and do stuff that hasn't been seen before, which is what excites me. And I think it's the same thing with Surface Gallery. We spent a lot of time with our designers working on products they haven't seen before, or making a custom made mosaic, or stuff that makes you want to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I think, as well, like,
when I think of custom, like anytime I'm briefing with my clients and we're chatting about, off the shelf or custom joinery, and everyone hears the word custom and everyone's like, oh, is that triple the price? And it's like, I'm not going to pretend that it's not. Sometimes it is. But at the same time, it's so nice to have people like yourself that I could just call and say, hey, this is what my client's after. What can we find in what material that's going to come in
Yeah,
under
that's the
budget?
thing. And generally, like, it's not always double or triple the price. Sometimes that can actually be cheaper. It's just having the time frame to work within. And that's sort of the biggest thing for us, even with the tiles and the stone and all that sort of thing, when we're working on projects. When you've got more time, that just gives you such a big buffer and opportunity to do and squeeze more in terms of dollar, in terms of finish, in terms of
Yes.
product.
If you need to research, you've got the time.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really helpful.
And so now what's your typical day if you're sort of up at the top of the hierarchy? Are you?
The days, look, I'm still very involved day to day with the business. I've got some really amazing designers that I've worked with for such a long time, and it's really hard to give that away. But slowly, as more people come into the business, I'm trying to delegate a little bit more and train my guys up to be doing what I've been doing. I mean, we're in a great position where we've had some staff that's been with us for a long time. One of the guys just celebrated 10 years, another one's coming up to 9. So I
Long
think
service leave or?
something like
Is that
that.
still a thing? I
Yeah,
don't
I
even
think so.
know.
I think so. But being able to have team members and they're like family, and when they've been with you that long, it just helps, I guess, continue that momentum. You don't lose any momentum when you've had people with you for so long, which is great. Yeah.
That's so cool. And so, given where you've come from to where you are now, are you like, how do you operate in the business? Like, do you find that you're quite like, all right, this is my day, this is my routine? Or do you like to kind of be a bit
Yeah. Oh,
more?
look, I do my best to keep the routine, but it generally gets thrown out the window a lot. I try and spend the afternoons typically doing my visits and seeing my architects and designers. I've obviously got an EA that helps me now, and I've also got Alex, who does all of my invoicing and logistics side of things, admin stuff. Without those two girls, I wouldn't be anywhere. So they're really, really amazing. And I guess, yeah, my day pretty much, I try and book out the mornings to sort of afternoon with clients that want to come and see me in the showroom. And then I'll spend the afternoon out doing visits and then a bit of catch up when I get home, and generally work till the night.
Still now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'm
Okay,
still
cool.
working on that sort of work-life balance, but it's just one of those things. I think when you're passionate about something and you're really pushing to get to a certain goal, I think, the balance kind of goes out the window for a little while.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
putting the hard yards in. Like, I've noticed that this year as well. And I think you do, peaks and troughs. Some weeks are a bit lighter than others, and then bang, you're down for 2 weeks, and you think, oh my God, what just happened for the last couple of weeks there? And so with, like, given that Surface Gallery has got so many beautiful finishes, so many beautiful surfaces, excuse the pun, but it's like, are you still, really in charge of that creative side of things? Do you still do the selections, or
100%.
how does
Look,
that work for your
it's actually
process?
quite collective, that process. So Scott, my business partner, and Lizzie, who's our brand manager, we're generally, all three of us will be involved with that process in terms of picking products that we want to push. And then we also float it with all the team. I feel like collaboratively, you get such a better result when you've got your team involved and they actually want to push because they feel like they're involved in that process, and they genuinely are. So
And it's probably seen a lot now too in the industry. Like,
Exactly.
oh, this will work, this won't work.
Exactly. So, you're constantly seeing stuff from competitors, but we've never been one to sort of copy or do something that someone else is doing because they're doing it. We like to do stuff that's a little bit different and pushes the boundary a bit.
And it's a bit
So
distracting. If
100%.
everyone, I remember one of the couple of times, a few people would say to me in the first couple of years of Unfolded, oh, you got to always keep an eye on what your competitors are doing. And I'm like, yeah, like I can. I've got a lot going on in my day. And also, they're in their lane. I'm in mine. Let's just like stay.
And we're totally cool with our lane.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. And like, my point of difference comes from Camilla, which will always be different to anyone else. So it's like, just stay there.
And we're the same too. Like, our focus has always really been on customer service and providing a really good service, because at the end of the day, there's a million tile suppliers out there. They can all do the same thing, but we try and add as much value as we can with our clients all along the way. It doesn't matter the scale of the job, whatever it is, because we do such a big multitude. One day you could be working on a nursing home, the next day you're working on a really beautiful restaurant, the next day you're working on a multi-residential apartment block, and then you could be doing, a 40-minute little home. So
And so what would you say is the majority for you at the moment in
look,
terms of
our
projects?
bread and butter's always been the multi-residential space. It does help tick over, and keep the wheels
Big
turning.
quantities,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's lower margin, but it is bigger quantities. And it does help, when you can play ball in that field. We have been into quite a diverse range of spaces in terms of, product and that sort of thing. But multi-res, I would say, is the bread and butter, and then high-end residential probably follows suit. But we're doing a lot more hospitality nowadays and trying to do a little bit more in the aged care.
Hospitality's really pivoting.
It is.
Like it used to be like, yeah, of course, you go to the restaurant and the walls are the walls and the floors are the floor. And now it's like, have you seen that new bar?
Exactly. Well, everyone's looking for that, Instagrammable restaurant to go to, so
Instagram probably helped that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So
And like the Merivales and,
yeah,
like it's
exactly.
all pretty. It's become very trendy to have cool signage and
Exactly.
it used to just be quite simple and like boutique.
Cool signage and cool flooring.
Yeah, cool
Like,
flooring.
you'd have cool
Exactly.
flooring.
Yeah.
But
And bathrooms. All the women in there taking photos.
that's right.
Yeah.
But look, we find, I guess, with the hospitality, it's always on such a short time frame. That's where it can get tricky because they're wanting something different, but they're generally on such a short time frame.
How do you
it makes
manage
it
it?
tricky. Look, you just got to try and mitigate it. Every job's different, and if you can get in early enough with the designer, you can sort of push it. But it is about just sort of knowing where what you can potentially offer, and
A different look.
yeah, well,
hey,
that's
I
it.
know you really want the travertine. However, this burnt red's really cool too. They're like, oh, I never would have thought. But it is like, that's what I love about, the interior designer and supplier relationship, particularly with finishes, because it's necessary. There's never a time where it's not necessary for a given project. And what I love is that, what I've even noticed with, when I go to woodcut for timber, I've got my rep there and, I'll call her and, hey, so I'm really just needing this particular color. Can you just let me know? And she'll send me 3 samples. And I'm like, thank you. I don't have to spend 1 hour going through everything. And also I'll let her know it's class 2 building or class 3 or whatever it might be. And I think those supplier relationships are so important.
I think you just nailed exactly what I guess we aspire to do when we're looking after designers, and it's make their life easy. We want them to feel like they can call us and just say, hey, Age, I'm working on a spec. This is the sort of look and feel. Can you give me some options? And, as long as we know where it is, what the demographic is, we can generally come back to with something that's going to suit budget, slip rating, timing, because there's all those things you got to consider before you even give it back, So the better it can be packaged for the designer, the more they're going to come back to you because you've made their
100%.
life easier.
Yes. And it's that relationship. Like even, I'm just going to use woodcut because they were just cute the other day. They sent me a box of chocolates and
That's always good.
some hot chocolate cacao. And, I'm like, they don't even know that I would drink that. But I'm like, I would love that. Like I love drinking organic stuff. And then all of a sudden it's memorable, and it doesn't take a lot.
Yeah, it's just the little things. Yeah, 100%.
And so in the early days or even now, what inspires you? What kind of keeps you going?
Look, I think, we're in a fortunate position in Australia where we've got some of the best designers in the world here. It's a really exciting design space because we've got such a diverse range of culture, so there's so many different tastes. So I guess I'm inspired because I'm working with some amazing people literally day to day, and you feel really involved when you're working across those projects, and they literally will bring you in and be like, hey, I've got this, how are we going to do it? Sort of thing.
Help me pull this together.
Yeah. And then when you see that end result and everybody's happy and it looks amazing and it gets photographed and potentially it could win an award, or it's in a magazine, or it's on the local project, that's when you just sit back and be like, oh, it's really rewarding, and you feel proud and happy that you're a part of that process, So that's kind of what drives me. Yeah.
And it's inspiring when that type of thing happens. And I've found that some of the projects that I should say my team has worked on that have gained recognition, even just on a small scale, you go, oh, I wouldn't have thought. Like, because you're just so head down doing it, and then you're on to the next one because, you got to start that phase before the, the clock's ticking. And then there might be something where it's just shared on a certain platform and you're thinking, oh, I need to just take time to go, that's cool. I worked hard for that,
Totally. It's
instead of
even
just
nice
on
if
to the
someone
next.
just reshares it.
Yeah,
It could be
that's
something as
it.
simple as that. They
I
just put it on their
know.
story and you're like, oh, that's
Just a
good.
little story.
Yeah.
Acknowledgement.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
100%.
And it is so nice, like back to the whole relationship that interior designers have with suppliers, particularly, like I said, finishes, because it can get, it's overwhelming enough for our clients, but sometimes we might get a brief from our clients and sometimes they're not that decisive. They don't really know what they want. And so balls in our court to unpack that, one, and two, to go, okay, I can also deliver on creating this quite unique space for this particular client. Let's chat. Like, what have you got to help me out here? Because those types of things as well, if we're going to get down to like the nitty gritty, those types of things take so much time. And if I'm focusing a couple hours a day just on a tile for a bathroom, I
You never
can't
get
do all the
anything
other
done.
jobs.
No, exactly
It's
right.
just not realistic.
Exactly
It's
right.
not about
Yeah.
not wanting to or lack of wanting to. But if when I've got those supplier relationships, it's like, oh, I can rely on Adrian.
And it's so consistent, all of these architecture and design. Designers work so hard. I think that it's probably one of the most underpaid industries
Don't remind
in the
me.
world. In terms of work and time, because I spend a lot of time in design offices, and the guys literally will generally always be there till 6.
It's
if
kind
not
of
longer.
standard.
It's kind of standard,
I know.
right? And then, you'll often see stories go up. Designers are working back 9, 10, 11 o'clock because they got a deadline. And that's like common. So it's, it's not an easy industry. It's amazingly rewarding. But if you can make the designer's life easier and quicker and more efficient, then I guess that's where the goal is.
Yeah, efficiency. And like, that's my biggest goal for 2025 is to work smarter, not harder. And it's small things like margins with suppliers. And, it's a tricky one because you don't want that to be your sole focus, but you also can't work 7 projects and try and stay across all the margins of all those projects. It's better to work 4 and be really savvy, give the client the attention they deserve for that project and make the margins there, And there's a bit of a, not a stigma, but like a bit of a careful not to speak too much about it with margins and things like that. And I think I used to be a bit like, oh, don't say anything. But it's sort of, the more people you talk to in the industry, everyone's like, the admin behind that and the time it takes to source that and the correspondence you have with the supplier, the logistics to get it to site, the warranty, it's just kind of all of us saying, well, no, we deserve to do that. Also, I've done my due diligence to get here to get that discount, and it's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I think everyone's got a different approach in terms of how they even bring it up, because like you said, it can be very touch and go depending on, the client relationship with the designer and their relationship with the supplier as well.
Exactly. And the builder and everyone's role. And
Exactly. Yeah.
there's
And
a lot
everyone's
of,
trying to save money at the end of the day,
That's it.
So
yeah.
yeah,
And not work till 10 o'clock if they don't have to. Yes.
that'd be ideal.
Yeah. And so for you then, like burnout, all this type of stuff, how do you manage all of that? Sounds like you got quite a big workload.
I'm not managing it that well, to be completely honest with you. I think up until a few years ago anyway. So I hadn't had a holiday in like 10 years until 2 years ago. And I was like, you know what? I really just need to do this. And I took a month off, and it was the most inspiring thing I could have done, because I went over to Milan for the design fair in April, and then I was like, you know what? No, and I'll tack on a little bit extra after that. So it really hit home for me how much, one, I like spending time with my team and how much I missed everybody in the business, but also just kind of re-inspired all those creative juices, getting back amongst Europe and seeing all the beautiful things that designers doing over there. And I've just sort of made a promise to myself that's going to be a yearly thing now. So
How good.
yeah, so the last 2 years I've done that. So that's kind of mitigated that a lot for me, because it's sort of, that's around April, May. So it's a good kind of time before it gets too crazy in Europe. I get to get a bit of a recharge midway through the year, and it kind of will help me get through
Get through to
the end.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. I was chatting to my family the other day about the best time and some sort of colleagues, we went to uni together and we'll do interior design, just about when is the best time to take a holiday. And you go through each month, you're, oh, no, not January, because that means, and then not February.
It's never
And
over
then you get
time.
to December and you're like, okay, so none of the months was good. So when do you just have to go.
Yeah, you've literally just got to book it in. And I find that the only reason I've done it the last 2 years consistently is because I've got the fair. So that's that's kind of the trigger for me, that you've got to then, okay, it's time for some time out now.
Yeah, and you look
So,
forward to it.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think it changes your energy.
100%.
I read, probably about 10 years ago, and it really stuck with me. They say the 3 things to, fulfillment and happiness is someone to love, something to work hard for, and something to look forward to. I think it's those 3. Someone to love, something to work hard for, and something to look forward to. Yeah, I think it's that. So if you break that down, life's pretty simple.
It
You
is.
know what I
It
mean?
is.
But we get caught up in
Yeah.
all the stuff. But for me, something to look forward to is a holiday. And I think when you book it in, like I've recently booked Japan. I leave on
Nice.
Sunday
Nice.
for 3 weeks.
Oh, good.
Similar to you, I haven't had a holiday this long in 6 years, 5 or 6 years. It is a long time, especially when you're in a position that we're in, where you're running the business and you're not just, 9 to 5, and you can get burnout. And even leading up to it, like I've only got, essentially 2 more work days, but I'm like, things I've got to do.
Yeah. You
But
can
then
have
I'm
it in.
like, no one contact me.
Yeah, that's right. I'm offline.
I'm offline.
D&D.
I'm offline, exactly. But, I think, again, a friend reminded me the other day, and she said, why do you do all this then if you're not going to go all out in Japan? And I'm like, you're so right. You're so right. And that's it. Otherwise, you might look back when we're 50 and we're kind of like, yeah, I should have gone. And the inspirational piece. I mean, obviously Milan
Yeah,
is.
that helps a little bit.
Yeah. And so
yeah.
how was that,
The
Milan?
fair was amazing. We had last year we had both years we've had a really good crew. Last year we had a really fun crew that was over there, and it was just amazing. Like, the fair's good, but it's actually all the little installations that they do around Brera in Italy, which
Because it's
is
sort of spanned out to be quite a big
yeah,
deal now. It's not
like
just
it's like a festival in Milan of just design. So like you can literally just kind of walk around in Brera and go into all these beautiful installations where they spend so much money and time and effort on these beautiful fit outs just for the week.
we'd never have that here.
No,
It just wouldn't
it's
ever be.
impossible.
No.
Impossible. I mean, we actually jumped into a cab and went over to these 2 abandoned warehouses, which they fitted out with all these amazing furniture and pieces from all handmade Belgian makers. And the really cool thing about that was that the fair can be overwhelming because there's just so many people, and it's like,
And you try and do it all
it's
too.
crazy. It's impossible to do it all unless you actually spend the full week there. But you do sort of pockets of it. You
But
do
even
all
a
the
full
good
week,
stuff.
like you might get a bit tired.
Yeah.
You're not mentally on
No,
the
you're
whole
doing
time.
massive amount of
Yeah.
steps every day. Like, it's crazy. But this particular thing where they had the 2 warehouses, all the Belgian makers, was just amazing because they were all the artists or makers were actually with all their product. So you could literally just go in, like we're having a chat today, have a really beautiful chat with them and get a complete understanding of what went into that piece, why that piece is 300,000 euros or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So it just made, I think that for me, really just elevated the experience even more, because it was like I felt a much more personal approach with a lot of the product
Like
that's getting
connected.
made. Yeah, for sure.
So
For
cool.
sure. Yeah.
And so something like that, does that then inspire you to come back and create something new with Surface Gallery?
100%.
How
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. That's the whole thing. So that could inspire, a new tile range, or a new color for a new tile range, or, a new, I guess, aesthetic style that they're sort of pushing at the time. And the same with Aldini as well,
It's European inspired.
Exactly.
How cool.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
noticed as well, I was looking at some of your finishes the other day for a few projects. There's a sustainability range. Did I
Yes.
see that?
Yeah, so sustainability is a big thing. Obviously we all want to protect the environment, and it's been, I guess, the designers and architects are really leading the charge with all that, and a lot of them are getting very particular in terms of specification with only Green Star or some sort of green tag product. So we've been working really hard on the background, because there's actually a lot of gray area in terms of what that is.
And what does it mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so many different levels, like you could sit and talk about it for days. But it is obviously on the forefront of what we do as well. We want to make sure that what we're providing is sustainable and it's, energy efficient and reusable and recyclable and all that sort of thing. So that's something that we've put a big focus on over the last sort of year, and we've just managed to get all the sort of credibility that we need just recently, which is exciting.
So cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to get that sort of accreditation out of Europe because they're very up to speed, but Asia is a little bit more difficult, and we've managed to get that in place there too, which is really exciting.
That's massive.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
on you.
yeah. So
Yeah, and it is a tricky one. Like, I find sustainability, all the words around, GECA approved, sustainability, environmentally friendly. Even like a lot of builders are doing, passive houses now. And I just feel like I need a week to just get across it. Like, I mean, it'd be cool if I had a sustainability consultant who works for
I
me.
know that'd be good.
That would be the dream, just so
Yeah.
they could stay across it. But yeah, I do find it, even as an interior designer in the industry, I find it a bit like, am I up with what's going on? I'm not even a supplier.
Oh, it's really
but
difficult to stay up to it all,
it's
like
so
it's just one of
hard.
those things
Ever
that you
changing.
and constantly pivoting, constantly changing. But yeah, it's been a big thing. I guess we were one of the first people that was really pushing to write. So, and back then, sustainability wasn't as much of a thing. There was no certifications and stuff like that. But that was one of those products that's always been, I guess, Green Star, if you like, because it's, it's essentially concrete and recycled marble granite chips, which is all pressed. So
And it's a pretty cool look. Like,
it's a beautiful
it doesn't
look.
really, it's never really been trendy.
Yeah.
It's always been pretty, like,
That's right.
it still works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, it can be repurposed, it can be reused. So that's, there's so many facets of, I guess, sustainability, but it's good to be involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And across it as much as you can, because clients ask. Like, they actually ask. And I guess what I have noticed is that even when I've come into a project where the client may or may not have wanted an interior designer until they did. And so they've got the architect, and then they've been chatting to a few builders. And I had one client who's like, I've spoken to 3 passive builders, and I'm like, passive house builders. And I'm like, this is cool, because I'm ready to work with, there's a couple on the Central Coast. And I'm just like, I just want to learn from you, because there's so much that that I don't know. And if that means reselecting certain finishes to suit, like, I think it's cool. Because eventually, like, if I build a home, I'd want,
Yeah, you'd
I
want
want
some of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want it to be all like solar and, all the things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's such a good thing that you touched on. It's like you're constantly learning in our industry. And I think the day that you're not learning is the day that you kind of, you're not going to be going forward, It's just constantly learning and, trying to adapt to the new thing or what's coming up. So, yeah.
So when it comes to like a project that's been completed by, your designers and architects and things like that, are you quite involved in, the project's done? Do you get to do like a little walkthrough? Like, how do you,
Yeah. Look, I
what's
mean,
the process?
you don't always get to do a walkthrough. I try and do as many as I can, particularly if it's a nice one. But yeah, that process it's a really rewarding process, particularly when they're getting shot, and being able to be around for the photo shoot is always good, seeing it all sort of completed and looking amazing.
And so many amazing photographers in our industry now. Have you noticed the rise of photographers in the last like 5 years?
It's crazy. It is crazy.
I'm like, who do I
Yeah,
pick?
I know.
Because they're all amazing. You know who I worked with the other day? Simon
Yeah.
Whitbread.
Oh yeah,
Have
he's
you
a great
worked with
guy.
him?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
he
yeah,
cool?
yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and I just it just made me realize, I'm like, wow, like, they're so talented. The angles they see.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. And there's, like you said, there's so many. Like we've worked with so many different photographers over the years, and it's even nice to see their progression as like I would call them an artist, because they are.
They are. They're creatives as
They
much
are
as we
totally.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And how they work in sync with their stylists, because they've all got their preferred stylists. We've got a few of our
I've learned
preferred
this.
stylists and photographers that we love working with. But when that harmony is good between a stylist and a photographer, I think you really get an amazing synergy and a beautiful result.
Definitely.
And I think that makes a big impact in how the photos turn out. Yeah.
And so, for you, is there the emotional side of it? Like, are you quite connected? Do you kind of go, I've been working on this project for a year. This is so cool to
Yeah,
see it all done.
yeah,
And
definitely. It's hard not to get emotionally attached to some of these projects. I mean, we just earlier this year, I think we've been working with Amhado from SJB on his personal home project in Surrey Hills, and he's such a clever guy. It was just, and he's done this on the last few projects we worked on together for himself. And he'll bring me up and he's like, Age, I'm thinking about this. Can you send me some options? And then we'll sit down and workshop. And then before you know it, he's picked the most out there product that you think would never, ever get on a job. And he makes it look so good. It's just incredible. So his most recent project was just a complete knockout. It was a 30 square meter block that he's converted into this 4-story beautiful home, which he actually lives in. And we picked this really out there red Chepo marble, which is amazing. And he put it with, well, it's actually in all the bathrooms with like a bright red Moroccan tile. And it's just crazy. Like he's done completely custom made tapware and, it's just a really bold palette, but he's done such a beautiful job and he's won a huge amount of awards and accolades. So getting a walkthrough on a project like that when you've, been really involved from start to end, and it's something that's, obviously he's very passionate about, we're passionate about, and it's then received really well, it's a really good feeling.
yeah. And so that's, connected to what we were discussing a moment ago around what you want your customers or architects and designers to feel.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think, look, I think the best thing that you can make your client feel when they're going through that process, because at the end of the day, generally someone's house is their biggest investment. So if you're working with them on their house and you can make that process easy, less stressful,
Seamless.
yeah, exactly, seamless. That's all you can ask for, and sometimes when that process is really good, you can actually have lifelong friends from that, and they'll continue to come and see you and potentially work with you again in the future when the next project comes up. So
Future work. And that's
yeah,
what we all want,
that's
right?
right. Yeah. So I think that's definitely the most rewarding thing, is when that process is easy, or they come back and say, oh, it was just so good or so easy last time and I loved everything that went in there. I still love it,
Yes. And you've made an impact, built the relationship, but you made an impact to say, our product's worth investing in, it's durable, good outcome,
It's fit for purpose.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. And so, in your day to day, do you find that we spoke about routine earlier, which we all try and do every day, very much so. Um, but do you find that you're quite like structured, or do you like that kind of spontaneity?
Look, I am pretty structured. Obviously I like to get up in the morning and train. That's a
What's
non-negotiable
your
for
alarm?
me. I'm only up at 6. I'm not like super early. I'm training at 7.
That's
So it's
late.
not, yeah, it's late. It's late, but I work late too. So
True. You're a night owl.
yeah, I'm a bit of a night owl like that. But yeah, once the training's out of the way, then my mind's clear for the day. So I try and set myself up and obviously get some emails out of the way in the morning, and then meet with some people, and then meet with some more people in the afternoon and do some more catch up after that. So
And do you find like nighttime's your quiet time? Is that why?
yeah, look, it's just hard to get through. I mean, the amount of emails that come through in a day can be pretty overwhelming. I mean, Jess is obviously working on that, filtering it, all day, but it's still a lot of the stuff that needs your attention, particularly when you've got designers that come to you and say, hey, Age, here's my look and feel. Can you come up with some options? And you need that time where there's no interruptions from the staff or from clients or whatever. So yeah, nighttime is a good opportunity to get some of the more technical, difficult stuff done. And then you can do the quick and easy stuff during the day.
Yeah. And it is quieter. Like I'm not a night owl by any means. Like if the sun's up, I'm up. So it could be to my detriment. Yes. Like most days, 5:30, bare minimum, 5:15. If I go for a run, it has to be 5:15 because by the time I get home, wash my hair,
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
the
All that
things.
stuff. Yeah.
Then finally get to the studio by 7:30, 8 o'clock. But my energy is morning. Like I have my coffee and I feel like I'm pretty well on till 2.
Yeah.
And
I
then
feel the
around
same
2,
way, to be honest. As soon as I've had that coffee, I'm ready to go.
yeah, ready to go. And it's interesting. I was like, oh, should I go to Italy for a while? Just because like my hours of when I want a siesta is when they siesta.
Yeah, you should.
Just
You
a
should
couple of
definitely do
hours
it.
and then
Yeah.
back to it. No, it's more just like you just got to work with your body clock, don't you? Like your energy's like your peaks and your
Exactly.
troughs.
Yeah. And just tapping into that, I
Yeah.
guess, and being aware of when you're going to sort of drop off a little bit in terms of energy. I guess for me, being going sort of out in the afternoon, it does break up my day a little bit. I think, when you're constantly on the phone, on the email, talking to staff all day, it can become pretty relentless to just stay there in that one spot. So moving around for me, it really helps.
Yeah.
with
Jump in the
that.
car,
Yeah, jump in the
coffee
car,
catch up.
make some more phone calls in the car,
Pick up
go
some
and see some
tiles.
clients, pick up some tiles, drop some tiles, pick up some more tiles. That's it. I mean, that's all it's really about.
Yeah.
So
And it's interesting. I find as well, like at night, I always think, oh, I don't really have much energy, but it's quiet. And I just actually only need an hour. Whereas during the day, to get what I get done in an hour at night takes me 2 and a bit because it's distracting.
it's like the hour of power. Yeah.
I am distracted with calls and texts and
And you can't predict that, like the phone runs off the hook during the day. Your builder's calling you, I need this yesterday, I need that tomorrow. So yeah, it's like you said, just managing those peaks and troughs,
that's
I
it.
guess.
They're all
Yeah.
quiet at night.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
Well,
me time.
to a degree.
To
Yeah.
a degree. I had a recent group chat going off with certain client and a builder, and it's fine to an extent, but it does make you realize, when do I clock off? Because there's always going to be someone that needs something. But it's at the same time, it's industry stuff, isn't
I
it?
think COVID affected us a lot with that work-life balance too,
Like the
to be honest.
boundary?
Yeah, because the boundary wasn't there. There was no boundary. And people would be emailing at all hours. And I
And
think,
they'd be like, you're home anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
You're
so
at
true.
home, you're working. So that's just kind of, whether we like it or not, that's continued for a lot of people. They're like, oh, well, because there's that, a lot more people still working from home, they can jump on their computer at night and send you a new email and it's a new project or whatever it is. So
Yeah. Or you get a text in the morning, did you get it? And you're
yeah,
like,
I haven't even looked at it
dude,
yet.
like you sent it at 9 p.m. and it's 6 a.m. Like, give me a
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. We get a few crazy ones like that too. I'll send an email, get a call 5 minutes later. Just want to check you got my email. Yeah, got it.
So we always wrap up with a question, bit of a fun one. So my question to you is, what is your guilty pleasure song that you secretly hope comes on at a party?
I'll probably Usher, yeah.
R&B fan?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why that one?
I don't know. Like it was just one of those songs that I was growing up that I think I had on repeat for probably 6 months on my Discman.
On your Discman? I think I had the CD, the single
literally.
from Sanity.
Yeah.
Literally. I was watching the other day, those guys, and they're the 2 New Zealand guys, the 2 Kiwis, and they dance on, they're a bit inspired unemployed kind of energy.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've
have you
him.
seen them?
Yeah.
And the guy, the more Maori looking guy, he was like, he did a skit and he was like, when you drop your kids off at the party, but it's all the songs that we
Yes,
knew.
I did see that.
And Usher
Yeah,
came on
yeah.
and he tries to leave the party, but he's like, I know this
Don't
one
want to leave.
too.
Yeah.
It just made me
That's
think
literally that.
I'm going to be like that with kids.
Yeah.
I'll be like, just one more song. Do appreciate Usher. It's a good song.
It is.
And lyrics are easy.
They are very
On
memorable.
repeat.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, Adrian.
Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Behind the Design. We've created this podcast to bring people together, inspire new ideas, and foster a deeper understanding of what goes on behind the design. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with someone who might find it valuable. Until next time, keep creating and stay inspired.